This one is called Eihwaz. Eihwaz. It looks kind of similar to Swilo, which represents self, but it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more straight up and down with its symbolism. And Eihwaz represents safety. Safety. And its literal translation is yew tree, Y-E-W, tree, yew tree. And what the yew tree is, it is like an evergreen tree. So although it looks like not much is happening, it actually stays alive and it stands tall in that snowy field, and it's all surrounded by the stillness and the lifelessness of winter, yet it remains supple and it remains strong. And they are hardy trees. They stay green even in the wintertime. Their red berries signify life in the harshest of environments. And it has a steadfast refusal to succumb to the opposition and hardship of the cold. So they've been linked to runes and seen as a rite of passage throughout ancient times. And they're often linked to immortality. And what I'm finding that this rune really represents, which is really interesting when we think about the word safety and how it is that we commonly think about safety, what this one represents is this conjuncture between life and death and the connection that is found there. How things can appear to be lifeless, yet still full of life, and how hardship can, and opposition can press upon us, but yet we endure. And I will tell you a little bit more about the keywords associated with this one. The keywords that are associated with it are accountability, honesty, trustworthiness, clarity of mind, endurance, a desire to achieve or obtain, a driving sense of purpose, and it's also a sign that you are on the right track. So it represents a movement toward enlightenment, again, that endurance, that initiation, that protection, and it can also bring with it the confusion, destruction, dissatisfaction, and weakness that we often find associated with death. And this is an opportunity for you to bring those two worlds together and to realize there is truly nothing to be afraid of. Even this thing of death, which is something that so many humans are really plagued and hindered with this great fear of this potential death. When you can make peace with that, when you can relax into it, when you can recall your past lives, your previous experiences. A lot of times whenever I talk about past lives or hear past lives talked about, I think not just, thinking about karmic and having to fall within a certain set of spiritual beliefs in order to really be open to this idea of past lives. But instead, I also think about past lives, like think about past versions of yourself, the parts of you that have died off over time as you've continued to grow and mature and fully live into what it is that you came here to do. So this fear of physical death, it's one of the great inhibitors of mankind's potential for total freedom of mind and spirit. And Eihwaz gives you the power to recall upon those past lives, to kind of sort through all the fragments and segments of our lives, and as a result, confirm your death in this life is only one stage of a greater journey. So again, I like to take this everywhere we can take it into our day-to-day life, because unless you're planning on passing away today, that's not going to be all that helpful. But if we think about it in the sense of that intensity, the opposition, the hardship, how it presses on us and how we endure through it, and how through that endurance, parts of us die off, parts of us let go, parts of us do not continue the journey forward. So we can let go of these aspects of ourselves, knowing that we're creating room, we're allowing space, and we're continuing this inevitable evolution that we are a part of. And what's really interesting, this shape that it has, this straight up and down line, it's representative of our spine and the life force energy that flows up and down our spine. And this really is a connection of what's above and what's below, and how it all flows together into one continuous harmonious experience, instead of how we typically think about them, dividing off life versus death, but understanding that life and death is really the same exact cycle that we have going on. So it continues this this communication that there is more to our current day reality. There is more to what it appears like. Just because that field is covered in snow, just because that tree is iced over, it does not mean that life isn't still persevering, that the next phase of evolution is simply underway. So it does remind you to bring balance to these two ideas, this flow, this life force energy, this life versus death, and this conjuncture between the two. But remember, we can't have the flow if we don't have them both. So it really is an invitation, I feel, to relax into the safety that is inherent in every moment when you come back to yourself and you put into proper place your life, your death, this ongoing evolution. When we can allow ourselves to be in the fullness of that cycle and no longer divide it out into good, bad, right, wrong, life, death, but to understand that death is also a process of life within itself. And all things that appear to be dead doesn't mean that they are. Then we can allow this transformation to take place, and again allow what needs to die off, and allow you to step forward as your soul whole self.